Hello again and welcome to Higgsy's Handy Hints, episode number 3, No Pains, No Gain. The Partner for Windows Case Manager screen has a huge amount of configurability to suit individual users' preferences. Over the years, I've seen some really interesting case screens being used in practice with large open docked panes and a very small case history. Usually users had no idea that with a few clicks, they could really change the look and feel of their case manager screen to suit the way that they work. So today's episode, we're going to look at all the configurability options available so you can make the system work better for you. So let's have a look at the numerous options you have available for configuring your case management screen. So the first thing is, often when Case Manager opens for the first time, it opens, as you can see on screen now, with a myriad of panes open, all providing different pieces of information. All of these can be switched on or off to suit, but also perhaps more importantly, you can make them in a position such that they only open on demand instead of being permanently open. The challenge with Case Manager is really to provide the user with a balance between information being readily available a single click away, but also to ensure that the main working screen has as much space available to give the best view of what's going on in the case. In terms of the panes that are available to view, they are all accessible via the case menu at the top. And on the left-hand side here, we can see panes and we can see which ones on my system have been selected. That will turn on or off a pane on the main case screen, as we can see here. So what I tend to prefer is to have these panes in what's called a docked fashion. So rather than being permanently open, as you can see at the moment, simply by clicking on the little pin at the side, just like you saw in the previous episode with the task panel, we can now bring these items as tabs on either the outside or the top, as you prefer, of the case screen. You can move them around, so when they're open, you can drag and drop them around the screen. I'll just get hold of the bar here, that will move around the screen. So if you prefer them at the top or you prefer them on the right-hand side of the screen, that's entirely up to you. But I tend to have the majority of them, as you can see here, down the left-hand side. Once they're in position, the beauty is that if you need access to one of those tabs, for example, the contacts, probably the most commonly used one, just hover over it, again, just like the task panel that we saw in the previous episode, and now you have access to your contacts. Whilst you've got the contact screen open, you can just hover over a particular example, so the estate agent, so we get a nice little pop-up with the key information. If you want to right-click to see more information, then you can go into the matter contact screen or even email directly from here to that particular entity as you see fit. There's also a filter option at the back here, so you can filter by type of contact or even name. So if I just type in percentage Andrew's percentage and filter, I'm only going to get Andrew's estate agent. In fact, they're a surveyor as well. So if you're running a matter that's got lots and lots of contacts and you just want to focus on a type of contact or an actual contact, then you can use the filter button at the top, as you can see there. And again, once you move off that and click away, that will move out of the screen, so you can carry on working on the main case screen. One of the functions of the case screen is the ability to access other aspects of Partner for Windows whilst you've got a case open, and typically that's done by the case drop down and the launch button. But also you have the ability to have that as a docked pane as well. So instead of having to go out of the case screen up to the top and then invoke the drop down, on my example here, I've got the launch shortcuts button and I can go and call up those other functions. So if I quickly want to go and have a look at the ledger card or the time recording for this particular matter, I can very quickly and easily do that by clicking on the appropriate button, as you can see here. It takes me directly to the matter I'm working on and then returns me back to the case screen. Another really useful pane is the Snapshot View. And this is particularly helpful if you run matters with lots of what are called progress files, or in plain English, subfolders, agendas, and so on. So, of course, you have the ability through the History Agenda tab to go into each of your subfolders and review the items within them. But that, of course, involves you having to know where a particular item is and, of course, jump in and out of the various subfolders. Using the snapshot view, that will give you a chronological history of everything in the case file, irrespective of which of those agendas or subfolders it's held in. So we can see here on my admittedly not particularly busy matter, I've got 4 items, 2 of them are in the incoming post, 2 of them are in the main folder. I've got the option via a right click to go to the particular item or look at it in different ways. I've also got the ability, if I'm looking for a document or item stored in the case file by some word that's in the description, it will filter it out for me from there. So very useful if you are the sort of user that has lots of subfolders, if you like, within your matter. Another thing that I often see when going out to talk to clients is that they'll have the case screen. I just move this around a little bit, sort of sitting a little bit lost in the middle of the screen like this. So again, you're not maximizing the screen space that's available, and therefore you really can't see everything that perhaps you ought to see. So people are tending to be opening it and then clicking on that to do that, and then minimizing it back down again, and the next time it opens it's this strange size. So ideally what you want to do to stop that happening and to give you the best use of space available, simply take the open case screen, drag it up neatly up into this top corner here, as neatly as you can get it. There you go. And then get hold of the bottom left corner and just drag it down to fill the screen as per that. And then once you're happy with the sizing of and position of your case screen, simply by closing it, that will then set that as your default. And just to test that that's worked, if you go back to that particular matter and open the case file, it should then bring it up in your preferred sizing. So it just saves having to keep constantly re-maximizing it every time it opens. The other thing I should have mentioned about the case panes is that there are 2 levels of layout effectively. You can have a practice layout. So as the name suggests, that's the layout that's been configured for all of the users by the system supervisor. But if you want to, with permission from the supervisor, of course, amend the view in the way that we've been looking at during this session, to suit your own preferences, then once you've set the panes as you want them, then you have the ability in the panes option through here to save your layout. And then if anything goes awry with that layout, you accidentally close one of the panes, for example, then you can load your particular layout thereafter. So that effectively will override what has been set as the practice layout, if indeed your administrator enables you to do that. A few other things to mention whilst we've got the case screen open. So you have the ability to adjust the font size. So if I just highlight an item here and just use the Control+ option, you can see that the font is increasing in size, or likewise decreasing with the minus key. And again, once you've got your preferred font setting, close the case down and it will remember the chosen font setting that you had. So let me just take it back to where I started. It's also possible to reorder items in the case history if, for example, something has been filed in a way which is out of sync with the chronology of the case. Let me go to a case which has rather more information on it than this one of our test cases. So the first thing to check here is that in order to use this function, just right click on your Step ID button at the top here and make sure that the custom sort is active, i.e. it's ticked. If it's not, just click on that drop down and that will then invoke this particular function. So let's say, for example, we want to move this authority to proceed letter up and down the case a few steps. So simply Alt and the up arrow will move it up one at a time. Likewise, the down arrow will move it back down one at a time. If you want to make a more significant move, then hold the Alt key and drag with the mouse to your desired position, as I'm doing here, and then let go, and the item will move to where it is you want to put it in the case file. So it just enables you to reorder things if they're a little bit out of sync, make them more sensible in line with how the matter's proceeding. It's also possible to change both the nature of the columns on the screen that you're seeing here, and also resize them. So first and foremost, let's go and have a look at how you can change what is actually presented to you on the screen. So that's in a workstation setting. So if I just go to File, Options, Workstation Settings, and into the Case area and set up column control, you can see now you've got a list of all of the potentially available columns. You tick or untick those that you want to see on your case screen. So this is affecting your individual view of case. Again, there is a system settings equivalent which provides the practice default, but by ticking this little box at the top, this will enable your selection to override the practice default. You can also reorder things, so depending on how they appear, how you want them to appear on the screen from left to right. So the top here is equivalent to left, the bottom is right, and so on. So just highlight an item and then moving the up and down arrows, as you can see, that particular column will move where it's positioned on the case screen from left to right across the top. So if I just come out of that and go back into the case screen, okay, these are my selected columns. So ideally what I'm trying to achieve is a number of columns that fit appropriately within the selected case screen sizing. But also once you're in here, you have the ability to resize the columns themselves. So it makes sense, I would suggest, that you are able to see the whole of the description. So what you don't want is a description screen like this, or a description column, I should say, like this, where you're constantly having to, see what that means. So just make sure you give yourself enough room. I've got enough room on the screen, as you can see here, so it pushes everything over the right hand side, so you can go all the way over and make absolute maximum use of the description screen. So it will give you the whole of the description, but each of those columns can be shortened or lengthened to suit the way that you want to work. So that's it. Hopefully, as always, you've seen one or two things that you haven't seen before and that make your use of case management system a little bit more efficient. But as always with these suggestions, please do check with your Partner for Windows system supervisor that you A, have access to do these things, and B, that they are approved for use within your particular practice. But again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you at the next episode very soon. Thank you.